day, wherever you are in the world. I'm happy that we are here today and that we are celebrating International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day. And it's always an honor, a challenge, awesome that we can bring great women from all over the world.
Our first presenter is from Colombia. Best-selling author, international speaker, and educator Sierra Melcher, founder of Red Thread Publishing. She leads an all-female publishing company with a mission to support 10,000 women to become successful published authors, offering world-class coaching and courses that focus on community, collaboration, and a uniquely feminine approach at every stage of the author process. Sierra has a master's degree in education, has spoken and taught around the world. Originally from the United States, Sierra lives in Medellin, Colombia, with her young daughter.
Hello, my dears. I'm so glad to be with you. My name is Sierra Melcher. I'm the founder of Red Thread Publishing. We are an all-female, non-fiction publishing company really devoted to supporting women through all parts of the writing and publishing process. We coach the writing, walk women all the way through the publishing process, and really establish them as thought leaders because the world needs more of women's voices. We are on a mission to support 10,000 women to become published authors, and I'm really excited to be here with you today on International Women's Day. Just taking a deep breath in, recognizing all that has been accomplished by the women here, by the audience, and by women that we will never know and maybe never meet. For me, this is one of the reasons I love books. I really struggled as a reader when I was younger, and so I have not always loved books, but my love of books came over time. But I want to tell you a little story. A number of years ago, I was reading a book. I was taking its advice. It was a book about kindness, and I was navigating being a single parent and trying to establish a relationship with my daughter's father. And I was reading this book. I'd really wanted to read it for a long time, and it was about kindness. And I was like, I think maybe I just need more kindness. And every time I took action that was recommended in this book, I got myself into trouble, and I found myself being really angry by the results of my own actions. And I reflected, and I thought about this. I was like, why is this not working for me? And there were a couple things, but significantly was this book was written by a European man, and my own experience was that I didn't need to be doing those particular actions. I actually needed boundaries, and I needed to be protecting myself and my daughter. And the actions were putting me in situations where I was more and more vulnerable. Long story short story long, I was walking down the street and I had this realization that this is not the book for me. I should not be taking this advice right now. And I said, you know what? I need to be hearing more women's voices. I need women's wisdom and insight in my head and in my heart, guiding me forward. And I, right then and there, committed to read only women for an entire year. And I was a pretty voracious reader at the time, so that was a really big commitment. I'm a little embarrassed to admit to you my next thought. Are there that many books by women? Could I read only women for an entire year? I'm not sure. I have since learned that there are incredible books by women. There are many, many. And once I began sort of digging in, women were referring to other books written by women, and it became this whole incredible adventure of reading and exploring and building connections and learning. And it was through that I became really sensitive to where I was getting my information, what kind of support and advice I was intentionally seeking out. And the reason I share this story, Red Thread exists to contribute to the swell of women's voices. We want to get more women in the public eye, sharing their experience, their wisdom, their lived and learned knowledge. Not just I have a PhD. A bunch of our authors happen to have PhDs, but the most common message that we hear from them is that it's actually not my PhD that I'm most proud of, or not that's where I want to share my learning from, but it's the lived experience, and it's getting out of this linear academic space into another much more feminine space and sharing that with women. All of our authors are showing up because they're looking out for people. They have an experience, they have a story that they want to share, whether they are on a cancer journey and changing their lives by recognizing what if cancer's opportunity is teaching them how to live differently, or one of our authors almost died of sepsis, a blood infection, and is an amputee and living that way, but I just saw her posting about snowboarding with no legs, and she's like living these incredible lives. So they have wisdom. And even one of these women said, well, I'm not an expert. And I said, but you are an expert. We are experts. And one of the things that shifted in that year of reading only women for me before I opened the publishing company was the definition of an expert, and what it means for us as individuals to be sharing our story, and what it means for the rest of the world to be hearing our stories. Our lived and learned experience has so much value, but there's this doubt. There's this, well, what if I'm not the expert? I don't have a PhD, or I don't have the time. I don't know how. Okay, and what will people think? These are the such common doubts and fears that hold us back, and the world needs women's voices now more than ever. And the reality is technology is in our favor. We live in a world that is highly connected, as evidenced by this morning, and so much, post sort of pandemic situation has taught us all that we can really build relationships and grow internationally thanks to the internet. So what we do with our authors is really support them through the writing process to discover their story, to hone their expertise, to really get clear on how they're an expert, how to write that, to guide and offer the most value to their readers. Then we publish and then position those women in leadership positions, on stage, as thought leaders, as speakers, as foundation organizers, really making change for so many people, starting with themselves and then rippling out. If you look at our logo, it's a single drop that just has all these ripples. This idea of writing as a healing tool for ourselves, writing as a methodology to discover what we genuinely know, because maybe there's been messaging that we're not experts and we shouldn't. And that old story of like, be quiet and blah, blah, blah. We don't abide by that story anymore. Really bringing women's voices to prominence, supporting the authors, the women who aren't yet authors and become authors, to really step into the full ownership of their voice, their expertise, and then to take it beyond the book. We always talk about beyond the book, building, whether it's a business or an organization or a movement, to really have the greatest impact possible. Because I want you to think about your own story, your lived and learned experience. Think about who needs to hear what you've learned and who you could help if you knew how to share your story. I wrote a couple books myself, How Change Really Happens and Date Yourself. These were huge learning experiences for me in the writing and publishing process, but they continuously, years later, are serving others, okay? And so I just want you to think about who would benefit from your story. We always start there. Who needs what you have? Whether it's, what would your life be different? How would your life be different if the book in your head was in your hands 5, 10, 20 years ago? If you'd had someone offering you a way forward, how would your life be different? And can you be that for somebody else? Maybe it's in writing, maybe it's in speaking, maybe it's in just being kind to the people in your neighborhood. I'm not saying everybody needs to be an author, but if you want to be an author and share your story and have this impact that goes well beyond your intimate sphere, know that through writing, you can reach countless people. I reread an article that, mothers spend 2.5 full-time job equivalent raising families and household duties. So I know how much time is an issue. One of the reasons we do the work that we do is to support women. I'm a single mother. Raise your hand if you're a single mother or a mother of any kind. You are taking care of already so many people. One of the ways we support women to become published authors without writing the whole book and publishing a whole book is working together. And this is a common theme. Hopefully it's rippling across the universe today and every day, that when we pool our resources and our energy, this is a book that we just put out. 20 different women wrote a single chapter in the book, and together they all became authors. Together they're reaching a wider audience. It's a collaborative author book. And so there's so many ways. We don't have to do it the old way. It doesn't have to be hard, and we don't have to do it all by ourselves. One of the things we do at Red Thread is looking at some of the old stories and shedding the old stories. So I actually have a special invitation for the women in this community, because Reyna has been building such an incredible community. I've been really graced with being a part of her conferences for the last couple of years. I wanted to put out a very special offer. We, like Feisty, a collaborative author project, we have 2 other books that we're putting together for June or July for publishing this summer. I would like to invite you. I want to offer anyone who's watching this today and this week, this specific week of International Women's Day, a scholarship, a 30% off $500. So it's a $500 scholarship for becoming a part of our author community. So if you're interested in writing and publishing, I want you to reach out to me this week, okay? Because we're closing chapter submissions at the end of this week. Email me at sierra@redthreadbooks.com. I'll make sure to include it here, but it's sierra@redthreadbooks.com, SIERRA @redthreadbooks.com. Say, tell me about the scholarship for the collaborative author books, and I will send it through. We would love to invite a couple more women from this community to be a part of this publishing process, become a published author by the summer, learn all the writing, book publishing, and book marketing that you can ever imagine. And a lot of the women who join in these collaborative author books end up going on and writing their solo books, publishing a book just by them, because once you've done it, it goes from something that is impossible to something that's easy. Okay. Anyway, I'm really, really honored to be with you here on International Women's Day. The last thing I want to leave you with is just really thinking about your story, the value and the wisdom that you've accrued in your life so far, and who needs it, and how are you going to share that? Okay. It's one thing for us to show up and shine here together. I want to leave you with this idea of showing up and shining and having your life be the ripple that changes somebody else's life. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Reyna, thank you for inviting me in, and I will see you all again soon.
Thank you, Sierra. And in Malaysia, we have Hanni Lim, a spiritual life coach with 25 years of experience in the field of feng shui and spiritual metaphysics. Sought after by some of the world's most exclusive clients, she has personally advised on the feng shui of property developments, hotels, corporate buildings, and million-dollar mansions.
Hi, everybody. Happy International Women's Day. First of all, I want to thank Reyna for inviting me to speak to your audience. And we had a little chat, a brief chat. So I've got 12 minutes to talk to you. And so today I just wanted to congratulate all the women around the world. A very, very happy Women's Day to you, International Women's Day for you. One of the things that my sons, I have 2 boys, okay, I've got a husband and 2 boys. And one of the things that my boys ask me is, how come there's an International Women's Day, but there's no International Men's Day? And so I just looked at him and I said, because women actually have come such a long way. throughout history to achieve what we have done. Throughout history, if you actually go and study the history of all the great people in the world, actually behind all the successful men that were celebrated in history, there were always so many women who supported them. So we've come such a long way now that we are in a modern time where women can celebrate our achievements. And so that's why we have International Women's Day. So anyway, today, since I only have a very, very short time to talk about, Reyna and I had a little brief discussion on what I would like to talk about today, is I guess, given that we are living in such turbulent times right now, I think for the last few years, we didn't expect something like a pandemic to hit the whole world. And the pandemic has really changed everything for us in the world. And just when we're about to finish the pandemic and things are looking like it's about to go back to normal, we get this war that is happening in Ukraine, which is really quite scary, especially, and I have so many friends who live around Europe. I have friends who live in Estonia, in Latvia. I have students from Ukraine. I have students in Russia even. And so this is a very, very unpredictable time that we live in at the moment. So one of the things that I want to say for all of us women out there, and even men too, actually, if you're listening in, this is a very important time for us to remain calm and also to tap into our inner strength to be able to cope with what is going on. I think what the pandemic has taught us in the last 2 years is that basically you can't predict your future. If you will lay all these plans, all these well-made plans that you have, well, a lot of people made plans for what they're going to do. And then, of course, they all had to cancel their plans. I had to cancel my airplane ticket. Lots of people have to keep changing their flight schedules. And, lots of people have lost their jobs. Lots of people have started new businesses. Lots of people have done so many different things. So I guess one of the messages that I'm trying to spread out there to all the people who tune in to listen to my talks every month or every week, is that it is really important for us to embrace change. Okay. This is one of the things that causes a lot of stress to women all around the world. It's because, we are such expert planners. We lay a lot of plans. We have a lot of ideas and ambitions on what we want our lives to be a year from now, 6 months from now, whatever. Okay. So of course, when things don't go according to our plan, we get very, very upset. And because we are very, very attached to the outcome that we have created in our minds. So I guess what I'm saying is that one of the best things we could do in such a time is to learn how to cope with change in a calm way. And one of the things that you can use, one of the methods and the tools that are available out there for you to do this is to learn how to meditate. So I've only got very, very short time today to talk to all the women out there. So first of all, I want to congratulate you for coming through this pandemic. Some of you may have had to struggle a long way, but if you have already made it through the pandemic, I congratulate you. And given that, we don't know what's going to come up in the next 6 months or a year and a half, if this war in Ukraine is going to continue, it's definitely going to affect the whole world for sure, what is happening currently right now. So the best thing we can do for ourselves and for all people around the world, all women included, is to remain calm. Okay. The best thing for us to do is to not make so many plans and be so attached to all these plans that we have made. The best thing we can do is to make plans, but remain flexible. Okay, ride the wave as we go. So one of the classes that I give on a regular basis, I do monthly pujas with all my students around the world. Reyna attend my pujas around the world. It's because we get together about 2 times or 3 times a month to do a lot of prayers for everyone. And this is a very, very important time for us to pray. Whatever the tradition you come from, whether you are a Christian or a Buddhist, I am trained in Buddhism, I'm a Buddhist, but whether you're a Buddhist or you're a Christian or whatever tradition, or you're Muslim, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Because right now, in order for us to get through some of these difficult times, we need to tap into our secret hidden power, which is our inner self. All that strength that we need comes from within. And the only way you can access all that is if you are in touch with your own spiritual side. And of course, praying helps you get there, meditating and praying. So for today, since it's International Women's Day, and I just want to congratulate all women for how far you have come. And this is a great time for us to celebrate all our achievements as a woman, as with females. But in addition to that, it is also a very important time for us to channel some of that energies to generate compassion and happiness for the rest of the world right now, because I think that right now is a very important time and the world really needs it right now.
Thank you, Hanni.
And we have Dr. Rachnilda Nilda Arduin. She was born in Curaçao and lives on St. Maarten since 1982. She studied law as her third profession and started a career in law in 1988. In 1993, she obtained her PhD in law at the Vrije Universiteit in the Netherlands, defending her thesis on international real estate time sharing. As a lawyer and consultant, she advised governments and the private sector nationally and internationally in various areas of law. Outstanding in her career as the first ombudsman of St. Maarten is the achievement to have a national ordinance for the implementation of an integrity chamber squashed by the Constitutional Court in 2016 for lack of adequate legal protection of the rights of those investigated, as well as third parties compelled to cooperate with such investigations. During her tenure as Ombudsman, Dr. Arduin has served as President of the Caribbean Ombudsman Association, as well as board member and regional president for the Latin American Caribbean region of the International Ombudsman Institute.
As you saw, I was listening very enthusiastically to the previous speakers. Let me first say good morning, good afternoon to everyone, because some people are already in the afternoon zone. I was really listening with a lot of interest to the previous speaker, because it is clear that I'm the senior in this group of ladies, and I really enjoyed to see that it is a different era. Yes, we have transitioned from the time, and if I look at that where I come from and where this generation is. And I must also say that in the midst of the many issues and challenges facing our world, it is important indeed to commemorate and celebrate women's accomplishments today. It is even more important in order not to be distracted and lose sight of the plight. So, Reyna, I once more salute you and the many and concerned persons all over the globe for keeping the torch burning to empower women over the years. Having said that though much has been achieved to break the bias since the women's lib movement and feminism of my youth, there is much work yet ahead of us to raise the image of women in leadership and awareness for gender equality. And having moved from leadership within the household to the highest echelons in the corporate world, public power and authority, it is important to take stock as we forge forward. As I said already, and in your panel, I'm the senior. So there are about 45 years that I am looking back of what happened. What are the lessons learned to be shared with younger generations? And I'm saying that we should acknowledge, as the previous speakers also said, that it is no longer a man's world with an itsy-bitsy touch of a woman in the Western Hemisphere. women have made strides and have taken over some sectors of the working society. The Caribbean has seen many female leaders of government over the years. And as I look back, and ladies, Reyna, as you said, we know each other many years from youth. And when I look back at the career of 45 years of formal engagement as a teacher, attorney, and legal consultant, and the first ombudsman of my country, I took stock of some main challenges encountered, and most importantly, how I dealt with and overcame them. As Hanni, especially and Juliette, both spoke about towards the youth, their children. I, as a teacher, my first profession at the age of 20, it was important to define myself and firmly establish my own identity in order to lead and groom my students to discover and embrace their own authenticity. The main challenge as an attorney has been that most of the time I was the only woman in the room at top-level deliberations and supervisory boards. This, however, provided me an ample opportunity to stand out and be different and leave a lasting impression by bringing above average proposals and out of the box solutions to the table. You can see that this was a complete different time. Nowadays, women have transitioned to hold positions in boardrooms and in higher echelons much more than when we started out. Striving for excellence and exceeding my goals became the norm. Being curious and expanding my horizon on all topics and matters I had to deal with became the absolute standard in my career. And building a support network when I was ombudsman. The Ombudsman Institute is a one-handed High Council of State. That position forced me to seek out both men and women internationally willing to exchange thoughts and ideas. Overcoming challenging physical, mental, and emotional experiences with the attitude of decisiveness provided an edge on the way. Again, a complete different journey than younger generations have to go through. But we're not there yet. It doesn't matter how others perceive your stature, potentials, or interpret your actions. Confidence acquired through knowledge, research, and hard work speaks for itself and supersedes any unqualified discussion about you or your achievements. I caution, however, to be prudent not to misinterpret or define gender equality with perceived male standards. Female leaders are characterized by often prioritizing personal development, bringing different skills to the table, details, creativity, imagination, a new sense of awareness and perspective for problem solving and leadership. Their nurturing instincts may play a role in supporting the development of others in order to make a real and lasting difference wherever they are. These has been the experiences over the past years when the plight of women was different than today. I have learned that it is pivotal to be aware of your limitations and own conscious or unconscious bias. Develop self-confidence to seize opportunities and take risks. Stay inspired by being passionate and curious. Be comfortable and stay true to your values and norms. Be a voice at the table and not an afterthought. Inspire and empower other women while you are at the top. Very important. And lastly, ladies, I have learned that humility directs your ego away from yourself to a larger good. It opens up possibilities, develops an open mind and curiosity rather than protecting only your own point of view. And so, Reyna, Hanni, and Juliette, and the ladies that might hear this conversation after online, I conclude and hope to inspire the next generations to believe in yourself. Be willing to learn and nurture others. Focus on achieving the set goals, both personal and collective goals. Lead with decisiveness. Be passionate and open-minded. Question the status quo. I think that especially in the time that we live today, it is so important. Question what is happening. Be not afraid to admit when you do not know and ask for help. Leadership is established by actual accomplishment and willingness of others to follow you. Be a change agent. Lead by taking charge and ownership of your career.
Thank you so much, Nilda. And
in Ecuador, we have Juliette Tang Chow, who was born in Malaysia and became a citizen of Singapore. She traveled and lived on several continents, has lived in Ecuador for 22 years, speaks 5 languages, Mandarin Chinese, Cantonese Chinese, Malaysian Bahasa, English, and Spanish. Chow practices Tibetan Buddhism. Because of her English upbringing and romantic nature, at an early age, she baptized herself with the name Juliette. Since her arrival in Latin America in 1993, with the conviction that applying feng shui and pa chi to daily life is positive and beneficial due to the balance that it entails in the flow of energy, Juliette put into practice her knowledge acquired from childhood in her family to help family and friends, but realizing that in this part of the world there was a lot of lack of knowledge and many misconceptions and ideas, she decided to do it full-time and spread these techniques, arts, or philosophical system who became and spread these techniques, arts, or philosophical system as a certified consultant on the famed teachers like Lillian Tu and Hanni Lim.
Thanks for inviting me, and I'm really honored that I'm here to share this wonderful day for the women with this group. Yeah, I didn't really know what to talk about, but I just want to motivate the women of the world that during this hard time, these 2 years that we have to go through this pandemic, I think the main pillar, I'm not downplaying men, but the main pillar that sustain the house, the home, the children, I think we made a very, very important role by being there to support the children, the well-being, the home, the running of the home is really wonderful. And the world, I think, we need the yin and the yang, as you know that you do metaphysics and feng shui and all this. The world cannot go without the yin, or neither the yang without, I mean, there must be a yin and a yang. So here we are. As women, I want to celebrate with you all how great we have come along. We did it. Congratulations with this small group here. We did it. We came out alive, and we are still going strong. And most important is that it didn't affect us on our mental health. That is the most important thing. I think thanks to Hanni, that during this time you were giving all this puja and meditation and all this talk. Yes, it helps by being positive. When you think positive thoughts and trying to downplay the negative side and do not look at the worst scenario, it helps a lot. And keeping yourself busy, like you, Reyna. Wonderful. You are always so busy. You're always doing something, organizing something. It's wonderful. So your time staying at home is not just in front of the TV and looking at the news or the negative things that, and then it affects you. You get angry. You want to discuss with people. And then it is really not necessary. We should stand neutral to what is going around the world. None of any of the government is good or bad. They have their reasons. So what we need to do is keep ourselves sane here. And plus, at the same time, being women, we have to accept who we are. We have to be authentic also. What color we are, what race we are, what culture we are. We accept ourselves first. Then we accept our neighbors, who they are, what is their culture. We have to be diversified. You know, the world would be very boring if everybody is the same color, everybody is the same, everything is the same. And I think cultivate who you are, accept who you are, and do your very best to serve the community, serve humankind. And that will really help to bring a better world also. And although Hanni say you shouldn't plan too much, yes, it's true. But then we women do worry a lot. We worry unnecessarily. And say, oh, what is going to happen to our children? What is going to happen to our world? Where are we going to get the food and money and all this? So yes, we do worry, but I think look forward to better times. That is the most important thing also. So celebrating this day with great women like you all. Thanks for having me, Reyna.
Thank you so much.
As the final speaker, I am happy to tell you more about myself. I was born and raised in Curaçao. I studied journalism at the School for Journalism in the Netherlands and made a career in TV and radio in the Netherlands at the Radio Netherlands Wereldomroep and continued my career for 13 years at a national television station in Curaçao, Tele Curaçao, where I worked as a journalist, anchorwoman, producer and director of many shows and audiovisual documentaries. In 1989, I started Bright Ideas and Services, my communication services company, offering services for companies, organizations, and individuals. I live and practice Feng Shui since 1997 and am a certified Feng Shui and Pachi Basi master and consultant. I started in 2004 the annual Female Leadership Conference in Curaçao, creating an annual forum for ambitious female professionals. As an international speaker and presenter, I crossed interesting borders and created a powerful network.
I'm stepping on my soapbox. My soapbox topic is support among women. I always talk about that. I always ask women to be aware that we have to be the ones that support each other. Support is a big word for many women, especially because we are programmed not to support each other. And when I say we are programmed not to support each other, I talk about from the beginning, from young ones, how girls are taught to compete. I don't remember seeing myself, I saw my daughter and how the information from outside is coming to young women. And I'm observing now my granddaughter, who's 11 years old, and I'm seeing again how the old world is trying to give them values that are not the values that we would like her to have. This is a very, very um, stubborn topic because it keeps repeating generation to generation. And if at a certain moment women don't understand why we have to make a difference, the situation will be next year, March 8, 2023, that we will be talking about how women should help each other, how women should move forward, how women should. While this is a topic that's been discussed for more than 50 years, and living in a country where we have 5 female head of states, it is sad to see that still we have to repeat as if we are standing at the beginning of a whole process to get women to where they have to be. The intention behind this International Women's Day is perfect because we need to give attention because not all cultures are giving women the opportunities, the rights, and the reality that they can be who they want to be and who they are, who they deserve to be. And that's not a topic for karma. But if we look at the reality of our educated communities, of our higher developed communities, of our Western culture, then we still need to stand still. And then we have to go on an individual basis. We cannot do this with the whole community because most, even women don't believe in equality for women. And we need to step individually, and especially us who made it, we need to step and talk to, specifically young girls, talk to young boys, that they understand what respect, equality, fairness, and all this means in the life of people, in the life of women. And it will be sad if my great-granddaughter will have to go through this same discussion. So my soapbox topic, and I repeat it everywhere I go, is support. If we don't support each other, none of us is benefiting from all the great things that we want. If we don't support a fairness in this world, and half of the world is female, if we don't support half of the world, we are accepting that half of the world does not exist, that half of the world does not have the rights that we think that they should have.
Thank you for watching, and please like and share.